Om Birla has begun its meetings to finalize the agenda and schedule for the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament. The opposition is expected to push for discussions on key issues including NEET, the Ram Temple donation theft case, ethanol policy, inflation and unemployment. Several union ministers and leaders from both the ruling alliance and the opposition are attending the meeting as well. All right, Shekhar, coming back to you, the MSME bill, that's also an important bill that I see, which perhaps is going to be an important facet of this monsoon session. But once again, we need to understand that is this also going to be a repeat of some of those last few sessions where nothing has moved?
See, Vineet, I think this time the focus is going to be on a lot of other things, like the topics you mentioned. We're talking about ethanol. We're talking about the hunger strike, which was going on, Jantar Mantar. There are a lot of open issues which the government has to really tackle, and I feel they're more, like I mentioned earlier, their modus operandi is discussing this in the Parliament. And what's really important here is not just a discussion. It's about coming to an outcome. We have noticed that in the past, whenever these discussions happen, there's always ends up in a standoff between the opposition and the government. And then there's a walkout which happens, and then we talk about the taxpayers' money being wasted. And that's what happens every time. I think this time, the speaker has to make it very clear that these discussions are sacrosanct. And what's also important is they need to understand the opposition, or even the government needs to understand the role here as elected functionaries. They need to discuss these bills and also come to an outcome. So all the bills which you mentioned, everything is important, but it's also important there's an outcome to it, and we don't just end up, they just don't, sharing audio clips and video clips and trying to go viral. What is important is what is discussed and what's the outcome out of it. What's also important here is there is a lot of unrest beneath, what what happened in Jantar Mantar. People are also going to be very focused on what happens tomorrow. In terms of the walk which happens to Sansad, there's going to be a lot of discussion around that leading up to the monsoon session. So tomorrow and the Parliament session is going to be a power-packed week, or the next couple of weeks. One can expect anything. There's going to be a lot of things which is going to happen now in terms of the political situation in India. And what one really wants is answers from the government, because the government has done the good work. They've been at it for 12 years, but that communication has to come out very clearly to the people about how are they working through this, because there are holes which one sees, and they need to cover these holes. They need to show they have a plan in place. They need to show that they take ownership of the responsibility. The government has done that in the past. They need to do it again and show that they are very serious.
Are you saying this is some sort of vague Rubicon moment?
Vague Rubicon moment?
Is it a Rubicon moment, from which perhaps there is no going back?
So so what's happening in Jantar Mantar is an outcome of public unrest. It's an outcome of what's happening in terms of the NET scam. We all know that what the problem is. We all know that the education minister had to resign, but nobody's even talking about that. We are talking about everything else other than that. And that's the big problem here. The education minister has to resign, and the conversation has been around the politics behind it. The conversation has been around everything around it. But the fact of the matter is, and everybody knows it, I'm sure we've discussed this in the past too, the education minister is responsible for it and has to take ownership. Now, the way the BJP operates is they don't resign en masse. They don't do it like the previous party. They want to have a discussion in the Parliament and then take it from there. I think they want to wait till the last moment. And now what they're doing here is the patience of the people is running dry. In terms of people are wanting answers, and somewhere the Parliament is going to be the right answer for it. Now, what's leading up to it in terms of the march, in terms of the walk to the Sansad, and after that the Parliament discussion is going to be really important. As in, there is going to be a lot of chaos. There will be a lot of things which will happen in the next 1 week. When I say a lot of things will happen next 1 week, you will see a lot of unrest happening. People will want answers. And what's going to be important is going to be this Parliament session, because that's what I feel is going to be an outcome. And it should be done in the right way, of course.
Okay, so what you're saying that there is an opportunity for the government to set a context in which things can be salvaged. Some more breaking news coming in.